Hey, I'm Ryan, and this is the story of how my marriage fell apart. When people think of mechanics, they often imagine greasy hands, a passion for cars, and a relentless drive to solve mechanical problems. For me, though, it's just a job, one I'm good at, but never expected to define my life. I work hard, pay the bills, and keep my head above water, or at least I thought I did. I never saw it coming. I wasn't the jealous type, and I trusted my wife, Laura, completely. We had been married for 8 years, and while things weren't perfect, I thought we were solid. We faced our struggles, mostly financial. My paycheck as a mechanic wasn't great, but I worked overtime when I could, and Laura worked part-time at a boutique while handling most of the household duties. We made it work, or so I thought. It was a Wednesday. I had just finished working on an old Ford pickup that had given me more trouble than I cared to admit. Needing a break, I decided to grab a burger at a diner across town. It wasn't a place I usually went, but it had recently gotten good reviews from a couple of friends and coworkers, so I figured I'd give it a try. That's when I saw her, Laura, at a new restaurant nearby. She was sitting in a booth by the window, laughing at something the man across from her said. She looked radiant, carefree. It wasn't just a casual lunch between friends. It was the way she leaned toward him, how his hand lingered on hers. My stomach churned. I sat frozen, unable to move, unable to look away. The man was well-dressed, in a tailored suit, with a confident air about him. Everything I wasn't. I didn't confront them. I didn't even finish my burger. I paid my tab and left, my mind racing. Was I overreacting? Could have been just an innocent lunch? But deep down, I knew I had never seen Laura look at me the way she looked at him. The next few days were a blur. I tried to act normal, but every time I looked at Laura, I felt sick. I couldn't accuse her without proof. If I was wrong, I would destroy our marriage for nothing. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. It wasn't cheap. The $1,200 retainer fee stung, not to mention the hourly rate for their work, especially with our finances already tight. But the investigator was a guy I had worked with before on his wife's car, and he gave me a discount. He laid out a plan to keep my costs as low as possible. I needed answers, so I paid for it. For 2 weeks, I worked overtime while the investigator followed Laura. Whenever I was around her, I pretended everything was fine. I kissed her goodnight, did all the normal things we did, and forced myself to smile when she told me about her day, all while my heart felt like it was being crushed from the inside. When the investigator handed me the file, I could barely bring myself to open it, but I had to. The photos were damning. Laura kissing the man outside a hotel, the two of them holding hands as they walked into a fancy restaurant, and finally, a hotel receipt with her name on it. My hands shook as I closed the file. There was the proof. My wife was cheating on me. That night, I waited for Laura to get home. She walked in humming to herself, gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, and headed to the kitchen. I followed her, holding the file in my hand. "We need to talk," I said, my voice low. She turned, a slight frown creasing her forehead. "What's wrong?" I tossed the file onto the table. "This." Her eyes widened as she opened the folder and saw the photos. For a moment, she just stared at them. Her face turned pale as she looked up at me, tears welling in her eyes. "I can explain, Ryan. It's not what you think. Don't even start with the lies." I cut her off sharply. "I saw you, Laura, at that fancy restaurant across from the diner. And now this? How long has it been going on?" She hesitated before whispering. "A few months." "I'm so sorry, Ryan." "A few months?" I felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs. "Why? What the hell did I do to deserve this?" Her tears spilled over as she choked out, "It's not what you think. It's not about you. It's about me. I needed more." I let out a bitter laugh. "More? What? Sex? Money? Excitement? What did he give you that I couldn't?" She hesitated again, and that pause told me everything I needed to know. "He helped me with the bills. We were struggling, Ryan. And you just—" I worked my ass off. I shouted, the anger boiling over. "I sacrificed everything to keep us afloat, and you went behind my back." You sold out our marriage to pay bills. Yes, she cried, trembling. And you, Ryan, you don't have ambition. You're content to stay a mechanic forever, and I wanted more for us. For me, her words cut deeper than any wound ever could. My job might not have been glamorous, but it was honest. It put food on our table and kept a roof over our heads. Now, she was throwing it all in my face. She started sobbing, but I felt nothing but anger and betrayal. You know what? I said coldly. I'm done. We're done. Wait, she cried, grabbing my arm. We can fix this. I'll stop seeing him, I promise. Just don't leave me. I pulled my arm away. It's too late for that. Go back to your sugar daddy. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and difficult conversations. Laura begged me not to tell anyone about her affair, but I wasn't in the mood to protect her. Her parents, her friends, they all deserved to know the truth. I didn't create a scene. I simply laid out the facts, showed them the evidence, and let them draw their own conclusions. The fallout was swift. Her parents were furious. Her friends were disgusted. And Laura? She was humiliated. The divorce was finalized quickly, thanks to the evidence I had. I moved into a small apartment near the shop, leaving Laura to deal with the house she could no longer afford. That wasn't my problem anymore. A few months later, I heard that her affair partner had dumped her. Apparently, he was never interested in anything long-term. He just enjoyed the thrill of destroying our marriage. Laura tried to reach out to me, but I ignored her calls and texts. I didn't owe her anything. As for me, I focused on rebuilding my life. I applied for a senior position and eventually transitioned into heavy-duty mechanical work. Starting over wasn't easy, but I was free. Free from lies, betrayal, and a woman who didn't appreciate what she had. If you're listening to this, remember, if you're working hard to take care of yourself and your family, don't let anyone make you feel like you're not enough. You're doing your best, and if they can't appreciate that, let them go.